FM.
FM. Big City 101.3 FM. Good rising. I am TaylaAndre. I wish I really could master accents. Do you know how many personalities I would have in me if I could master accents? Woo! Saria is a queen, though. Saria got that down pat. She can do an English accent, an Irish accent, Jamaican, African, and there's actually a difference for people listening that don't know. And she got it down pat. So shout out to my Pookie Poo, my baby, Asaria. People always say, like, why you always talk about Anari? You don't talk about Asaria. Because she won't let me talk about her. I can't get her on film. She won't take pictures. She doesn't do social media. I think I have one video of Asaria on social media talking about the internet doesn't need to know about her. Because she's too important. So we're going to let that woman right there be in her womanhood, in all her feminine energy. My little baby. Ooh. You gotta give it up for all the young women. Because there are some amazing, like I know we see out here as far as media is concerned, a lot of women and girls that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, that shed a lot of negative light on our young ladies and our young girls. But there are teenagers, for crying out loud, the little 11-year-old that got the $11 million deal with Whole Foods for her lemonade. Like the little girl that is with Vogue magazine as, what is she, 13, 14 years old, and is an editor at the magazine. Like, we have some amazing young black excellence going on right now. There is definitely a sun rising on what's happening in our community. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. And sometimes it's like, oh, what's going on in society? And I know a lot of you can feel this shift, can feel this change. I've been talking to a few of my friends and associates, and they're like, you know, I can't explain what's going on as far as my emotions. She is a Scorpio. And that's funny that you said that. My daughter is a Scorpio. But there are a lot of people that are going through this emotional change, this spiritual change, this change of like, I can't explain it, Tayla. Like, I can't put my finger on it. And the climate right now is definitely altering. If one of my ladies, if you're listening and you're feeling some type of way, I want you to know that you're not the only one. If you're in your feelings and you can't put your finger on why you're in your feelings, and you usually have control over your feelings, I want to let you know that you are not the only one. There are hosts of people out here. If I'm finding that mostly women, please men, speak up if it's you as well, that are feeling a shift in society. And this society shift is making us, especially if you're an empath, feel as if maybe it's something inside of you. Like something's wrong with me, when the truth of the matter is we are feeling the climate outside of us, what society feels right now. You know how they say it's so tense you can cut it with a knife? Well, there's some tension going on in the world, and some of us that are connected feel it more than others. But that is neither here nor there. I want to give a huge shout out. Hashtag that's a chica. Rihanna, bad girl Riri, was at Harvard University on Tuesday evening. And she got the Humanitarian of the Year award. Her speech stated, "I am incredibly humbled to be acknowledged at this magnitude for something that in truth I never wanted thanking for. We are all human, and we all just want a chance at life, a chance at an education, and a chance at a future." I love her. As I stare into the beautiful moon, I see optimism. I see hope. I see the future. I know that each and every one of you can help someone else, and all you need to do is help one person, expecting nothing in return. To me, that is a humanitarian. I want to give a huge shout out to Rihanna. Hashtag that's a chica, because she is definitely putting on for Barbados. Last night there was a film, a show that came on air, and I did not watch the show about the justice that needs to be taken care of as far as a young man that lost his life, took his life due to the mental confinement. He had spent 1,000 days in jail for a crime that he did not commit, but he stayed in jail to prove a point. And long story short, there was no reason why that baby had to take his life. I read yesterday, saw a meme, went and did my due diligence, that when our ancestors went out to war, when we went out to fight different tribes and came back home, that those soldiers, those warriors, would spend days, weeks, 3 months with a shaman, with a spiritual doctor. Good rising, good rising. And while they were with this shaman, they would be spiritually attuned. They would be spiritually brought back to where their center was. When you go off to war, when you see blood and guts and gore and anger and hatred and rah, and then you come back and you're told to be a civilian. You sit down for a couple hours and they sit here and write out what you experienced and what you went through. And they're like, well, that's normal. Well, here goes life. Go back to it. For some men, it's not that easy. And especially when you're underage and being treated as an adult in an adult jail cell. Khalif Broder spent 14 months in solitary confinement at the age of 16. He is not the only one. And that's the reason why he stayed in jail. That was the reason why he stayed right where they put him. So that he could come out and fight for other children, fight for other men who were in solitary confinement for most likely crimes they did not commit. And when we have an administration currently that is looking to keep open private prisons to have free slave labor, absolutely, 10 cents a day is not being paid for your work when you're creating Victoria's Secret panties that sell for $25 a panty, a bra that sells for $50, $60 a bra, and you're getting paid 35 cents a day at most. 51% of all suicides in juvenile facilities happen while youth are in solidarity. Thousands of youth are held in solitary confinement each year. Solitary confinement is what is described as not being in like general population. You are in a cell for 23 hours, nearly an entire day. And Khalif Broder spent 900 of his 1,000 days in solitary confinement. There is a project called Stop Solidarity for Kids.org. I'll go ahead and post it. Good rising, grand rising. I'll post it so you can be familiar. My heart bleeds for Khalif. My heart bleeds for Miss Broder, whose son took his life after he wanted his story to be told so others wouldn't have to go through this. But unfortunately, this is the system that we live in. The system was built like this on purpose. And for a lot of people who don't know, we had an awesome conversation with a woman who went to Rikers Island, and she was in Rikers Island for years, and then came out and told a story, wrote her book. I'm going to see if I can find that, and if we can repost that, if not on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but one of these days we can go ahead and use that as one of the shows that we play. But she talked about how she saw thousands in solitary confinement, how thousands were at Rikers Island for not having the money to pay bail. That's it. Their court date didn't come up and they didn't have the money to pay bail. Rikers Island is not a prison, baby. It's a jail. Hiding in swamps to escape militia. Families are currently in the grip of famine. They're forced to eat weeds to survive as 100,000 face starvation following 3 years of war in South Sudan. An estimated 5.5 million people are currently at risk of starvation. And by July, those 5.5 million could perish. This is real life. Give thanks. I hope you woke up and gave thanks. In awkward news, this really reminded me of biblical times. Boo Biden, Boo Biden's widow, Joe Biden's son, has died. You guys know that. Bo Biden died. And when he died, he left a widow. His widow is currently sleeping with his brother, Hunter, who has split, divorced, separated from his wife. And the father, Joe Biden, our former vice president, has given them his full and complete support. So, for instance, this has happened in my family, where one brother would die, and then the other brother would kind of take over. I know in Cape Verdean culture, like, it's been done. It's not far-fetched. It's very much normal, because it's been done in my family a couple times. But it reminds me of back in, like, the kings and queens day, when a brother would die and another brother would step in on his brother's behalf to take care of the family. Well, Joe Biden's son did just that. And it seems a little awkward for me. Because my family's just weird. Like, I accepted it because my family's a bunch of weirdos, and we do things outside of the box. But for our former vice president to say, hey, full support. Yes. Okay. Really quickly, what time is it? All right, we got a couple minutes. Islam will overcome Christianity and become the most popular religion in the world by 2070. With the migration that's surging in Europe and America's Muslim population, research shows that by 2070, Christians are going to damn near be obsolete. Which, if you take a look at that thing called the Bible, isn't too far-fetched. There's so much to cover, and I'm trying to get to all of it. Pedophiles, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. So I went ahead and posted this yesterday on my Instagram and my Facebook, but this is blowing my mind. UK police announced that there are so many pedophiles that they will stop arresting them. They will stop arresting them. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? One of the things that they said is that not all pedophiles should go to jail because we don't have the capacity for them. We don't have anywhere to put them. We don't know what to do with them. So if we were to take all of the pedophiles, we damn near would have a jail full of pedophiles. So what they're suggesting is if you just like watching kiddie porn, we'll just send you to counseling. We'll just send you to therapy. I need you, baby. Let me understand. Due to stigma, it is difficult to know how many pedophiles there are in Britain. And I'm trying to tell you this because I know, Tayla, this is not America. Why are you reading this? Because what happens outside of our backyard creepiteth, crawleth into our backyard. I need you to understand what socially acceptable overseas becomes socially acceptable here in our United States of America. And if you don't believe me, go Google but what is it? Man-child love, man-boy love, boy-man love. It'll blow your mind. It's absolutely disgusting. I hate it. But there is actually a movement here in the United States. It's like man-child love. Oh, NAMBLA. I don't know what that stands for, but shout out to the Hemi because she knows everything. Man, it's ridiculous. But officers should focus most on the dangerous offenders who could directly offend against children, while lower-level offenders should be dealt with through counseling and rehabilitation. Due to the stigma, it's difficult to know how many pedophiles there actually are, but the National American Man-Boy Love. I'm done. Look it up. Don't believe me. Don't believe a damn thing that ever comes out of my mouth. Always look it up. Always do your due diligence. They're saying that the National Crime Agency in 2015 estimated that 750,000 men are interested in having sex with children. 750,000 men in the UK alone. That implies that as many as 1 in every 35 male adults is a pedophile on the spectrum. Whether they like to touch little boys and girls, or whether they like to watch kiddie porn, or whether they actually engage with children. Shea Freak said, am I wrong? Does it seem like there are more European pedophiles than any other ethnicity? I would love someone to do a complete study and document this, because Shea Freak believes that black men are not part of this sickness, and that this is more of a European Caucasian issue. Shea Freak, I think that would be a dope study, and I would love to see the outcome of that. But they would never make an outcome of that, because then it would prove that the Romans had a problem. That's not neither here nor there. I'm going to post this article because it also comes with a video on the Wake Up with TaylaAndre page. Sometimes TaylaAndre's page, TaylaAndre, gets entirely too cluttered. So I post these stories on the Wake Up with TaylaAndre page. It's one of those like liked pages, whatever. And the UK is just saying like, we're too busy to investigate all pedophiles and we need to relax penalties. And this is an ongoing conversation in the UK right now. Some people are saying that pedophiles should face chemical castration because the number of, they just don't have the space for them. They don't have the time nor the space to deal with the pedophiles. So what if we possibly just, castrate them? I'm all for it. You guys have probably seen this article. You probably heard the investigation, but really quickly, for those that we have out of state that are watching, listening, that don't know, Fox 25 investigated that hundreds of Boston police teachers are working without a proper license. Hundreds of teachers are working without a proper license. I'm interested in, I haven't heard anything as far as on a state level is concerned. I haven't heard anything on a city level as far as what is going to be done. As we could go ahead and kick these teachers out and definitely replace them with some teachers of color, because I'm trying to darken up the departments a little bit and have more educators in front of our children that look like our children. In Massachusetts, new teachers can apply for a license which expires after 5 years. Educators must then seek training to apply for an initial license, which is valid for 5 years and can be extended another 5 years. That's 10 years. With state's permission. After that, teachers must upgrade to a professional license and complete new training to renew a license every 5 years. Long story short, TaylaAndre finna be a teacher. I'm about to be a teacher. If there's teachers in here right now that aren't properly licensed, I'm finna be an educator. I'm about to stand in front of all your babies and tell the truth. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You want to know why? Because let me not pay the state of Massachusetts for my real estate license, and I can't even think about showing somebody a house, let alone renting it or selling it or buying it for a client. If I do not pay to have my PTIN, I will not be preparing a tax without the IRS down my throat. I have no idea. I have no clue how this is even legal to have an educator in front of our children and you are not properly licensed. A doctor cannot be your gynecologist, cannot be your OBGYN, cannot give you the damn flu shot if they don't have their proper license. How do you get to stand in front of a classroom and tell children XYZ when you didn't do ABC? For crying out loud, the Divine Nine can't be a part of their membership if they don't pay dues. But yet teachers can continue to teach. I will leave that right there because we got some amazing guests that are going to come in the building and school us today. But really quickly, there is a 17-year-old by the name of LeVar Allen out of South Bossier County in Louisiana. He is an award-winning wrestler, football player, and basketball player. LeVar is beloved at school and in his community, and he has never been in trouble with a day in the law. Has never been in trouble with the law a day in his life. LeVar did what millions of children are currently doing in America, and he was sexting with his little girlfriend. He exchanged naked text messages with a 16-year-old classmate. First, she sent him a nude video. She sent him a nudie. And then after she sent him a nude video, he went ahead and sent her back. And I know that's very much frowned upon because if Anari sent a little nude anything, I would whoop his. He wouldn't even, listen, Anari wouldn't be able to go to school for 2 months because he would be somewhere hiding. He would be in the corner, locked up in a room, and he would be the one locking himself in a room because my mom finna kill me. She need about 3 months to calm down. I can't go to school today. But the truth of the matter is 54% of teenage children under the age of 18 engage in sexting. It's becoming a norm. I don't know how we stop it. I hate it, but it was consensual. She was 16. He was 17. She sent it first. He sent it second. Because he's 17, she's 16, they arrested him. When the question was asked whether or not this was race-related because she is white and he is black, police chief said, oh, heck no, this has nothing to do with race. He committed a crime. He's 17 and he's engaging in child pornography with his 16-year-old classmate. We are going to take this and follow the law to the T. But a lot of people are crying that this is not fair. And there are little nuances in the law that need to be addressed. I can understand if she was 14. I could even understand if she was 15. But she's 16 and he's 17. And he just turned 17. So he's not a 17-year-old turning 18. There's nuances throughout the laws, baby. You gotta know. You gotta know. You gotta know. Really quickly, the Warren Group reported Tuesday that 3,621 single-family homes were sold in Massachusetts in January. That's up 5.5% from January 2016 and the highest number for the month since January of 2005. The median sale price was $342,500, a 7% increase from the $320,000 in January of 2016, and the highest January median sale price since the prices reached $349 in 2006. One of the things that I want you to know is these prices are going to continue to rise. If you're looking to buy a house, baby, please do it now. Please do it now. Why? Because we have a lot of things going on in the city that you may not be aware of. Like, for instance, we have Parcel 3, the Project Review Committee, meeting this week. I apologize. When is it? Thursday, March 2nd. So they're meeting today, 5 p.m., City Hall. This is the hearing that we discussed yesterday, formerly the Black Removal Authority, a.k.a. the Boston Planning and Development Agency. Without your consent, without your authority, we gon', F your couch. basically, because we're taking your whole city. So they're meeting to reclaim Roxbury, and Tremont Crossing is a proposed project at the corner of Tremont and Whittier Street near Ruggles Station. It will bring 625 units of market rate housing to the lower Roxbury area. Only 13% of the units are planned to be affordable. They will be affordable to families with a child that make between $60,000 and $70,000 a year, even though most Roxbury residents make about $25,000. That is 625 units that will be market rent for $2,200 a month. And that's starting with a 1-bedroom. Now is the time. Now is the time. Boston tenants rallied to stop displacement, and they demand passage of the Jim Brooks Community Stability Act. This is Thursday, March 6th, next Thursday, 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. This is going to be in Hyde Park, 1226. Dyslexia is real. And this is an emergency rally to stop the displacement of advanced property management. Tenants in the past, they want to pass the Jim Brooks Community Stabilization Act. And long story short, we have a lot going on in the city. Long story short, this city is steadily being taken over. And I mean this in no disrespect, but when you see a white woman walking her dog at 5:30 in the rising on a Saturday in Roxbury, things have definitely changed. 5:30 in the afternoon, running, frolicking throughout the city. Like, things have definitely changed. And I mean no disrespect. I'm just saying, people who lived in Roxbury couldn't walk the streets of Roxbury. Now all of a sudden we have white women that feel safe enough to take runs, at dusk. But Taylor, that's neither here nor there. But it makes a huge statement. Really quickly, before we get into our special guest, I want to remind you that Beauty, Brains, and Hustle, a conversation hosted by your very own TaylaAndre, will be taking place March 18th. So after we come out of our informational housing, informational home buying event, we are leaving the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts and heading straight to the Bruce Boiling building. March 18th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. There's going to be some dope, dynamic women in the building. Danielle Johnson, a.k.a. Miss Hot Sauce, Miss Liz Miranda, and Dutch Rebel, a few others that I'm unfamiliar with, but we're going to make sure we get the ladies in the building to talk to us. And do not forget that the Black Boston Economic Summit, a free 2-day financial literacy workshop, Saturday, March 11th and March 18th, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. On the 11th, this is for my beginners, the beginner's guide to creating financial wealth, home security, and insurance basics. On March 18th, insurance, creating a home line of credit, creating a home line of equity, and expanding your financial wealth like a pro. We also have 10-minute one-on-one credit review, so bring your credit report. If you do not have a printer, there is a library directly across the street from the Urban League. Go in there, print your credit report, come back, get your 10 free minute one-on-one with a credit specialist so you can understand your credit, so you can build your credit, so we can take back our city, reclaim Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. Last but not least, as far as community events are concerned, on March 9th, we have Dr. Joy DeGrew in our city. This is the biggest deal since Tim Wise, at least. The location is at the Timothy School. It's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Doors open at 5:30. That's 205 Roxbury Street. Dr. Joy DeGrew is the author of a groundbreaking book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing, which addresses the residual impacts of trauma on African descendants in the Americas. Post-traumatic slave syndrome lays the groundwork for understanding how the past has influenced the present and opens up the discussion to how we can use the strengths we have gained in order for us to heal. You are listening to Wake Up with TaylaAndre. I am TaylaAndre, and I am so excited to be here today We have an amazing conversation about to take place, but we're going to take a really quick break so I can get our guests situated and set up. I want you to know that I thank you, I love you, I appreciate you. I hope you guys are having an awesome time. We'll be right back with some facts, some figures, and some understanding. If you have any questions about taxes, give us a call, 617-282-0062, Facebook, YouTube Live. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and post them. We got a tax professional in the building to answer all of your tax questions. Big City 101.3 FM. Y'all know I can't play music for you, but I'm about to go get our guest real quick. What's little Bookie Boo's name? Where you at, Pooh? Where you at? Gregory, Daniel, YouTube. I told you that I was going to have that answer for you as far as the article or the book that I read about cleansing your womb in order to create baby geniuses. I'm still on that. I have not been able to find it yet, but I am still doing my due diligence to get that for you. Now, Hemi, I'm coming. So you're telling me a grown man can touch, molest, and essentially traumatize a small child, not get arrested now, he has confirmed, but they want to mess up a young man's life and replying to a young woman's text message. You better say it. Say it, Boston. What?
I'll sit. Let them hang
I'll
sit
sit
right next to me. I gotta have this big old thing on my face all nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's just me and you and just something on your lip. That's it.
Okay.
Just me and you.
Something's on my lip?
Yep, something's going to be on your lip.
Oh. So I'm sitting here?
Yes, you are.
Oh, great.
You going to put it on your lip? Mm-hmm.
Okay. I should have brought my book. Just so I wouldn't. Can you get it? Just in case I need some facts or something that somebody might ask me.
You got this.
Just be like, come to the meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That work? So you gonna put it on your lip like I'm close to my lip? There you go. There you go.
I have to hold it or?
Nope, nope.
The other person's coming?
Ooh. Nope, it's just you.
What? I wasn't told about this.
It's just you. And I wasn't told about this either until after Nahemi sent me a text message and I started making phone calls and my phone calls went unanswered. There you go. And use your outside voice.
Okay. All right. So you'll be able to tell me if I'm not loud enough?
Do your A-E-I-O-U.
A-E-I-O-U. I can speak loud.
Yeah.
All right. So
Are you a mommy?
I already did. Huh?
Are you a mommy?
No, I'm not.
Use your auntie voice.
Okay. I'll try.
Day-Day! Use your auntie voice. I have 2 children, 25 and 24, who still live with me and in college. They both work. Can I claim them? Uh-oh. Come on. We got them questions rolling in. We got them questions rolling in. Where we at?
So, if they're going to claim them, they have to...
No. We're not answering questions yet. That was just people are starting to ask questions on Facebook Live.
Okay. Shit, there isn't an iPhone charger over here, is there?
No, there isn't.
I ain't going downstairs.
Because if you do, she's going to want you to grab that book.
Yeah, can you just grab the book, please?
Hey,
oh my God.
hey. I love that beat. That beat is ridiculous. Grand Rising, Grand Rising. My name is TaylaAndre. You're listening to TaylaAndre. Wake up with TaylaAndre. Big City 101.3 FM. I wish I had accents. I wish I could do different accents properly. But I can't. Oh well. I hope you guys are having an amazing time. We got some questions already rolling in on Facebook. Questions such as, if I have 35 children, can I claim all 26 of them? Absolutely not. Or maybe so. If you have any tax questions, give us a call, 617-282-0062. We have a tax professional in the building. Good rising, my love. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
You're fine?
Yes.
Well, I'm super fantastic. Please, for the listeners, please introduce yourself. What is your name, and how are you a tax professional?
Okay, my name is Corinne Edward. I live in Boston. I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a tax professional. It's considered a tax expert. Many people are not too familiar with what an enrolled agent is. Many people are familiar with what a CPA. The difference is that an enrolled agent takes an exam that's administered through the IRS. It's a 3-part exam. The first part's on individual taxation, the second part's on businesses, and then the third part is on ethics. So basically we have to be well-versed in those aspects. Once you pass the exam, then you're considered a designated tax expert. And I've been in the field of taxation for 8 years now.
Taxation. For 8 years?
Yes.
So, I have a question. My first question is, it is stated that I should not have taxation without representation. I don't feel as if my government represents me. I don't want to pay taxes, but I don't want to be in jail like Wesley Snipes and Lauryn Hill. How can I not pay taxes?
Well, paying taxes is the law. As long as you have the ability to vote, then you have the requirement to pay taxes, in which that's where the taxation with representation comes in. And so we do have the ability to vote here. And so you have the requirement to pay taxes.
So I have to pay taxes?
Yes, you have to pay taxes.
There's no loophole.
So, I mean, there are people that, basically in order to pay taxes, there are some gross income requirements. I mean, not everybody would be required to pay taxes. You would have to work, like for the state of Massachusetts, you would have to have a gross income of $8,000 in order to even be required to file a tax return. It may be beneficial to file a tax return, let's say if you're making less than that and you're getting a refund back. And on the federal side, it's staggered based on what your filing status is. So if you're filing single or head of household, married filing jointly or married filing separately, or qualifying widow with dependent child, based on the filing status that you fall in, the gross income requirement changes.
Okay, let's say, for instance, I'm a single mother. I only made $6,000 this year because I spent the majority of my time in school, but I made $6,000 and I have a child. You said I'm not required because it's not over the $8,000.
Well, that's for the state. I can't remember all the numbers for the federal because it does change every year. It's staggered, probably about 18 or something thousand. But if you're, let's say, for a single mother, so and you're the custodial parent of your child, if you had let's say, at $6,000, you could file your tax return. You wouldn't be required to if you're, you would fall in the head of household status, again, if you're the custodial parent for the child. So you'll be head of household, and yes, it would be beneficial to file a tax return, but you may not be required at the limit of $6,000 if that's the gross income.
Okay, so let's stick with this $6,000 really quickly. So I made $6,000. I was in school, and I get Section 8 and have food stamps. Can I file taxes if I have any type of assistance?
Government assistance. Yes. The difference is basically public assistance is not considered assistance that you're usually providing support for. So, in terms of, let's say, if you're claiming children, generally what the rules and regulations are is that when you have income, the income should be you're providing more support for your dependent.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you can still file a tax return and claim credits if you're working and have and you receive public assistance.
Well, you said that if $6,000 was my gross income, right?
Yes.
What is a net income?
So your gross is before taxes. Your net is basically what you take home after tax.
Okay. So
it's usually after federal tax, state tax,
FICA.
and FICA.
Who is FICA?
Social Security or Medicaid.
Oh,
the taxes that come out.
I never knew who FICA was, but they get their money every week.
Yes, they do. For every pay period.
So let's say, for instance, this woman that's on, this woman who makes $6,000 a year. Mm-hmm. She's in school. She has a child. She has my child. And I pay my child support. Can I claim my child support on my taxes?
No. Child support is considered support of the child. There's nowhere to claim child support on taxes. No, you can't.
But I pay a lot of money for my child support.
Yes, but it's considered support of the child the same way a custodian parent is not. There's no place to deduct the expenses. Well, in terms of child care expenses and so forth, but there's no place to deduct child support again, because child support is support of the child. That's not an expense on the tax return.
So when she gets to claim the child, she gets a credit, but I don't get deductions.
So if the custodial parent signs a form, it's called Form 8332, releasing an exemption for the custodial parent to allow the non-custodial parent to claim their child, then the non-custodial parent can claim their child on their tax return. Generally, they cannot claim earned income credit and that's the credit that gives usually generates the most refund, because again, the custodial parent, based on the qualifications and the requirements for that credit, they require the custodial parent to be able to claim that credit.
What if, for instance, so we're in court, I pay child support, and the judge said I could claim the child this year.
Okay.
But she claimed the baby already.
Then I guess that, so
that's tax fraud, right?
I don't know if that technically is considered tax fraud, because I think that gets into a court that's a little different. I personally wouldn't consider it tax fraud. I don't know, but generally, if the non-custodial parent had the paperwork and filed the paperwork to show that they could claim their dependent, then I think it's usually I'm not entirely sure what the IRS would do in that situation. Generally they may, the custodial parent may have to amend their tax return to release that exemption. But again, it's only the exemption they're really losing, because they can claim the earned income credit. The custodial parent, I believe, can claim the child and dependent care expenses. That credit. There are some credits that the non-custodial parent can claim, but the custodial parent, even though they're releasing the exemption to the non-custodial parent, they still can claim some credits as well.
Okay, all right. That was dope. Didn't know that. But there are legal aspects to claiming a dependent or claiming your child, as far as child support is concerned. So there's legal steps that parents can take, should Tayla?
Well, I can't get into the legal aspects in terms of the tax requirements. Basically, in order to be to claim or be considered the custodial parent, generally the child has to be living with you for more than half the year. That's one of the big ones. There's age requirements and so forth, but there are some requirements, but generally the child has to be living with you. If there were an audit, they would look for that. The IRS or DOR will ask for medical records or cards, something that would show that the address reflects the same address that's listed on the tax return.
Okay.
So like a school report card, a medical bill, or something like that.
Understood. And even though I say child, you say dependent. Who can qualify as a dependent?
So with the dependent, there are, I guess, different types of dependents. So a dependent can be a qualifying child or a qualifying relative. A dependent technically can vary in age, of course, from birth and up into a dependent can be a mother or a grandpa.
So I can claim my mama.
Yes, if you're taking care of your...
I sure am.
Yes, and they're living with you. There are different requirements for qualifying relatives. A qualifying relative, a parent would fall into what's considered a qualifying relative. A qualifying child, of course, would have to meet the age test. So a qualifying child on your tax return definitely would be younger than you. Generally is under 19 or under 24 if they're in school, yes.
So let's say, for instance, I have a host of brothers and sisters. My parents got it in at a young age. But yet, I'm the youngest, yet most responsible, and I'm taking care of my big brother. I'm taking care of my big sister. I'm taking care of my mom. So I'm taking care of my whole family. We all live in the same house, but when my brother can't pay his car note, I'm paying it. When my mama can't pay rent, I'm paying it.
So for a qualifying relative, they generally have to live with you for the entire year, and they have to, with qualifying relatives, you have to meet what's called the support test. So you must be providing more than 50% of their support. Not only, let's say, you're paying a bill here or there, you're providing more than half of their support to say that you're actually taking care of them.
Well, some of my neighbors' kids be at my house more than 50%. Can I claim them?
They generally wouldn't meet the qualifying.
They live at my house. They don't go home and they eat all my food.
And since they have a different address, they probably aren't living with you, so they definitely wouldn't meet that
requirement.
Yeah.
So what if I have a child that's currently incarcerated? A 16-year-old incarcerated child, a 22-year-old incarcerated child. And I support this child more than 50%. And not only that, I pay my taxes, which then goes into the state jail. So I'm paying twice as much to house my son, the criminal. But can I claim him on my taxes? Or even my husband. My husband's currently in jail right now. And I'm just trying to, I put money on his little commissary. Can I claim that?
Well, a spouse is never considered a dependent, so you can file jointly or separately with or from your spouse. With the dependent for the children, generally, yes, there's considered a qualifying child. That's considered a temporary absence, so generally you can claim. Want to double check, but yeah, generally you can claim them as long as they meet.
Really?
Yeah, as long as they meet.
So if they're 24 years old, and
if they're not in school, then no, they have to be under 19.
He just turned 20.
Then he wouldn't meet the age test to be a qualifying child.
Okay, so you said that I can file with or separately from my spouse, but what if my spouse is not working? Can I not claim my spouse as a dependent if
they're never considered your dependent? So even if your spouse is not working, even if your spouse is not working, they're still considered your spouse. So I'm not sure if people look at the tax form. It's always a space for the primary and the spouse section. the husband or wife, their name always goes on the top because they're not your dependent. They're considered your spouse. So you would either, again, because they are your spouse, you would choose the filing status of married filing jointly or married filing separately.
Awesome. So really quickly, I want to go back as far as jail and prison and having incarcerated persons in my family. What if my 16-year-old was tried as an adult? Is he still a 16-year-old, or is he considered an adult by the state?
For tax, it meets the age test.
Oh, so it doesn't matter what the state said. The IRS said he's still a child.
Yeah, we go by the age test. So they're considered a qualifying child.
Awesome. So let's say, for instance, my husband owes massive amounts of child support, but that was in a relationship prior to me. We don't even get to see the child, and I don't want to have to pay his arrears. But if we file together, all my taxes, from the credit of my house to the credit of our new children, all of those credits are going to go and pay his arrears. What loophole is there for me so I'm not paying his child support?
So generally, there is a form called the injured spouse, where the non-debtor spouse can fill out this form when they're filing their tax return. Because the situation is very common. The injured spouse, I think the form is 8379 on the federal side. You fill out the form, you allocate basically the income, but if you're due a refund, you're still allocating the information and the deductions and so forth on the tax return. And basically, it goes to the IRS. You have to fill one out for the IRS and the DOR. And based on that, they will decide whether or not you would generally get your refund. Because technically, it's whether you have reason to know or not know that this person was in debt. It's generally not, I just don't want to pay their their child support. Mm-hmm. And there's another case as well. So there's an injured spouse and there's an innocent spouse form that generally people get mixed up with. The injured spouse is for being the non-debtor spouse being able to claim the refund, because it's their portion of the refund. So basically, what happens is, again, you're allocating the income, the deductions. And if that non-debtor spouse actually were due a refund, they would get their portion of the refund.
So there's an injured and an innocent spouse.
There's an innocent spouse. So let's say if you're married, you filed married filing jointly with your spouse for several years. Let's say your spouse was doing drug activity or something, and had some type of income on the side, and didn't claim it on their tax return. So again, illegal income is still supposed to be on the tax return. There is a section for it. There's other income.
Hold on. Go ahead. Let's finish this, because now I have real questions.
But so let's say, it's income. They had income that they didn't claim on their tax return, or even like self-employment. It doesn't even have to always be illegal, but self-employment income that they underreported. Let's say you were as a spouse, you're working, you weren't aware of it, but you guys are filing jointly. Years down the line, the IRS or the DOR audits you or audits the tax return, and then finds that there was some income left off the tax return, and does an audit, charges you all these interest and penalties from this tax return years prior. As the non-debtor spouse, or as the spouse that wasn't aware of it, you can file what's called an innocent spouse form. And within that form, you're filling out the paperwork and stating that you were not aware of, the
So that's more so down the line. And injured spouses, this year I'm filing.
Generally, yes. Okay. So generally the injured spouses, you're filing it that year. The innocent spouse generally would be a form that you would file years down the line, just because it most likely is coming from an audit.
How many years can the IRS, like how many years should I save my receipts in case the IRS decides to audit me?
Generally, 3 years. I would say I try to keep my paperwork as long as possible, but the IRS and DOR, the Department of Revenue. So, and that's another thing. Generally, people forget that they have 2 tax returns to file. As long as you live in the state of Massachusetts, you have to file 2 tax returns. You have a state tax and you have a federal tax. And so, and generally, if you have to file a form for the federal, more times than not, you may have to file a similar form for the state. Okay. They'll have different names, different numbers, but you'll have to file a similar form.
Okay. I have 2 children, 25 and 24. This is for Darlene on Facebook, who still live with me and are in college, but they both work. Can I still claim them?
They wouldn't be considered qualifying children, but you can claim them as qualifying relatives.
They're in college.
They don't meet the age test. They're over 23.
So
over 24. So they have to be, again, under 19 if they weren't in college, or under 24 if they are in college. So they don't meet the age requirement to be considered a qualifying child, but they would be considered a qualifying relative. So she's not going to get like earned income credit and for them, but she would get the exemption.
Okay, awesome. So what about if I have 2 children, 16, 17, currently in school but work? Can I claim them even though they work, and can they do their taxes on their own?
If they meet the gross income requirements, then they are required to file taxes.
They just made a low $6,000.
So that's the common misconception that a lot of people think because their kids are in school, they don't have to file a tax return. They actually, again, if they meet the age requirement, they actually do, and they most likely would meet it for the state generally because it's lower. The state has a flat gross requirement of $8,000. And for if with the children, basically the parent can claim them as dependents. They can claim the exemption for the children. So when the children file federally, they wouldn't be claiming their exemption, but they can file their tax return. If they didn't make a lot of money, it most likely would be beneficial for them to file their tax return if they had taxes taken out. So if they had federal or state tax withholdings, then they might as well just file to get that refund back.
Okay, so Sharon from Facebook, if you have any questions regarding your taxes, if you have any questions regarding your spouse's taxes, if you have any questions regarding past taxes, audits, anything regarding the IRS, what is it? How does Southerners say IRA? Anything regarding the IRS, please give us a call, 617-282-0062, or hit us up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TaylaAndre. Sharon wants to know, how about claiming a U.S. child living in another country? So I live here in the United States, but their dad lives in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Africa, but they're home more than 6 months out of the year.
So again, to be considered a qualifying child, or to meet the dependency test, they still have to be in the house for more than half the year. The 2 places where a dependent would be able to be considered a qualifying relative if they lived outside of U.S. borders would be Mexico and Canada. They can be considered a qualifying relative and be able to be claimed if they were in only those 2 countries. Oh, but Puerto Rico is also, like, they have to, they're U.S. territory and they file anyway. But generally, if they're in Canada or Mexico, they couldn't be in, like, Argentina or somewhere else. They would have to be in those 2 countries in order to at least be considered a qualifying relative.
So a qualifying spouse. So I live here in America. My husband lives in Mexico. I can file my taxes, married while separate, and still provide information of my husband?
Yes, you can file. So again, the spouse is never considered a dependent. But yes, you can file a joint or separate tax return.
Does it fairly?
You don't have to be you don't have to be living with your spouse jointly for more than half the year. So let's say even if a married couple, they got married December 31st, they can file married filing jointly.
Really?
Yes.
Same thing if you have a baby on December 31st.
Or even January 1st. So if the baby's born up until January 1st, they are considered born for the entire year. And that's a big one because I find that some people don't they don't know that, or they don't bring in the paperwork because they think that their child has to be there for
the whole year.
Like, no, as long as your child is born in that year, or up to January 1st, they can claim the child.
So really quickly, I want to go backwards a little bit. Okay. So as far as like being an injured spouse, like for instance, my spouse has past credit card debt, or my spouse has child support debt, or any type of debt that was not during our marriage, or maybe was during our marriage, and I just don't want to be associated with that because it's on their credit card, not mine. And I fill out the injured spouse form. Is that guaranteed, or is that just something that they consider?
So again, it's basically the paperwork that you would have to fill out in the IRS. Again, you send the paperwork to the IRS. They and your deductions and so forth are allocated, but it's something that they considered. It's not automatically guaranteed. And again, it's not whether or not you want to or don't want to claim the person's debt, because technically if it's something it's supposed to be whether or not you are aware or not aware of the debt. Yeah,
I was not aware, but I want to fill out the form just in case there is anything.
Because those are the questions that's actually on the form, rather than not. It'll ask
how they gonna know whether or not I knew? Because he didn't even know he owed child support. So how am I supposed to know?
I mean, so basically, again, that's it. Once you submit the paperwork, it takes a while with that process, but basically, you fill out the form, you submit it to them, and then they will make the determination whether or not you would be
eligible,
approved for injured spouse or not.
All right. So we do have a caller on the line, but before we get to the caller, really quickly, as far as I am being audited right now, during my audit, how many years can the IRS go back?
Generally, generally 3. 3 years from the time you filed your tax return, especially if your tax return is filed timely, generally 3 years.
So
some exceptions of that is if there's fraud on the tax return. So if there's more than 25% of fraudulent income or underreportation of income, then they can go back 6 years. If you don't file altogether, then there's no statute of limitations. The IRS can go back 10 years and all of a sudden look and see if you didn't file. So generally, especially for people that even make a lot more money, or like with the state taxes, you generally want to file a tax return just to close out that statute of limitations, because again, there isn't any limitation if you don't file.
Y'all better file your damn taxes. That's all I heard. 617-282-0062. I have a whole bunch of other questions that I have, but we do have a caller on the line. 617-282-0062. You're listening to Wake Up with TaylaAndre. We have an IRS specialist, not a tax preparer in the building, but an IRS specialist. You wanted to add something?
Well, so technically, I don't work for the IRS.
But you're a specialist,
yes,
though.
I am what's considered a tax expert and enrolled agent. So that's why I have to make sure I differentiate.
Let me clarify.
Yes, I have to clarify that. I don't work with them, so that's why I don't want to answer any policy or procedures for them. But basically, in terms of tax rules and regulations, no,
you got that covered. You got all the answers to my question. Good rising, caller, you're live.
So, are you familiar with the form 4506T?
I don't remember all the numbers there. So if you can tell me what form it is, because all forms have different numbers.
So my scenario is I got audited. My question is, I got audited, and I agreed to the amount that I need to pay, but I'm also in the process of purchasing a house, so I'm going through the underwriting. So it was for 2015. So what I want to know is, it takes 30 days for the audit to hit my credit, correct?
So, I mean, I don't work for the IRS. And generally, I want to say it doesn't just go to your credit report. If you're being audited, they're just looking at what's on your tax return and getting more information. And generally, the first notice that they send you is generally a proposed assessment. It's, okay, based on what we found, we think you owe this amount. And you generally have 30 days to respond to that notice, or they'll send you another notice. And if it's not responded to within that time, then they'll be billing you. Penalties and interest will continue to accrue. And yeah, but what I guess I'm not clear as to what the audit is. I do see the 4506 is the request of transcript for a tax return. Yeah, on the state side, it's an M4506 as well. What are you requesting the tax return for? To see if anything matches up with the audit? Like, I mean, I guess I'm trying to see what
I'm really trying to do is, it's actually the underwriter that's requesting the form. I guess it's like almost like a tax transcript, or it's like a verification of what's really on your taxes, I guess, that the underwriters require, I guess, prior to.
Oh, for your house, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, oh yeah. So I know in terms of, or generally when you're buying a house, they want the 2 years of the tax return. So yeah, that would be the form you would request, just to get the copy of the tax return.
Does that answer your question, baby?
So that's not an audit.
No.
So I'm confused as to using the term audit.
Okay, so like my scenario is, I got audited. I went down there. I seen them. They told me what it was. I gave them all my paperwork. They sent me the finding. I agree with the finding. So now that's done, right? So now, so I think it takes 30 days before it shows, and the reason why I'm concerned about that, because once I pay it, I want to know if it's still going to go on my credit, because I don't want, because with the underwriters, you can't have back taxes. Like, you can't owe taxes in order to get a mortgage. Just wondering
so again, that would be a question that you would have to call the IRS, but generally that doesn't just go on your credit because they audited you for something. I mean, you would have to be in collections for a long time before all of a sudden, like, they would have to file a lien against you. Generally, a lien is what's going on your credit report. So if they were filing a lien and they're liening you for this money, then that the creditors would be alerted, because that's filed on your credit report.
So what I think I'm hearing, the question is, because that I was audited, they sent me a finding. I agree with the finding. I have to pay them X amount of dollars, but it's not on my credit. It won't be on my credit report unless it's a lien. Is that
generally? Yeah, like, all because you get an audit, that doesn't mean it's automatically going to your credit report. But again, because, like, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, because I don't work for the IRS, but generally that doesn't go on.
But generally,
that's not
if
going
I
on.
owe a couple dollars, I don't have a lien.
And the IRS or the DOR sending you paperwork, it doesn't automatically get reported to you. It's not going to your credit report. So
it's not going to hinder her from purchasing this house that she's in the middle of purchasing, even though she has to request this form of past transcript.
They wouldn't even know unless they filed a lien. The only way they would know generally is if the IRS or the DOR filed a lien because this balance was outstanding for a significant amount of time.
Okay. All right. Baby, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so, because if they file a lien, so by them taking my taxes for last year, they're going to take my taxes, they're going to garnish my taxes. So is that considered a lien as well?
No, that's not considered a lien. The lien is a formal, a request against any assets. And so there are two forms. There's like a lien and a levy. A levy doesn't mess the credit report. The lien does. So a lien is attached to any real property. So if you try to buy or sell a house, the buyers, sellers, creditors are all alerted that you're trying to sell, and it stops. Well, basically, it hinders the process, so to speak, and we get our money. Basically, it's alerting them that you owe these state taxes, you owe these federal taxes, and to pay X amount of dollars before the process continues.
Thank you, baby. Thank you. Hopefully that answered all of her questions. We do have some other callers on the line. We're coming to the top of the hour. The last day to file your taxes is?
April 18th. So generally, the last day is usually on the 15th. If the 15th falls on a weekend, then it will be the following business day. The following business day is the 17th, and that's a holiday here and in DC. I believe it's like Patriots Day. So the next business day is Tuesday.
So why don't we have extra time? Because the IRS wasn't open, and they weren't taking my taxes on January 1st. They weren't taking taxes until January 15th. So why don't I have an extra 15 days since they had an extra 15 days?
Well, I guess there's the extra grace period of those 3 days. It's the 18th. That's the due date.
So can we have you back? Because we do have a lot of questions, but we are coming to the top of the hour. Can you come back to answer some more questions?
Sure.
Okay. We have another caller on the line, 617-282-0062. Good Rising, caller, you live.
Hello?
It's you, baby. Good Rising.
Hi, good morning.
You were supposed to say no. You were supposed to say come to the event. Good Rising, baby. Talk to me. We're listening.
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Good morning. Bless everybody. Okay, that happened to me with my husband. He had won a large sum of money, almost $10,000, that I knew completely nothing about it until I filed. And I got a letter in the mail stating I owe $1,888. Okay, I paid it because I don't like anything on my credit. But my question is, I believe now he's working. Do you think that they would take money from him as well? Because I filled out that interest spouse after the fact. And I wanted my money back because I didn't think it was fair that this man won all this money and I didn't even have the satisfaction of even getting $1 out of it.
It sounds like you may have filed the incorrect form. Because again, an injured spouse form would be what's on, the innocent spouse form basically is the form that you should have filed. In terms of getting the money back, I'm not sure if that would be so likely. But if you guys filed married filing jointly, then you guys are both equally responsible. We don't, like the IRS or the DOR, they don't split up who's going to file 50-50 or anything like that. It's just basically as long as you guys file married filing jointly, they don't care who pays. One person can pay it 100%, the other person can pay it 100%. You can split it up 50-50, but generally you would have to file the innocent spouse form instead of the injured spouse, because again, the innocent spouse is the income that's affected on the tax return. The injured spouse's income or balances and debts that would cause your refund to be taken, and the non-debtor spouse wasn't aware of it. So in terms of being able to get your money back, unfortunately, I don't know. I can't answer that. I generally probably say no, but definitely give the IRS a call. Their number is 1-800-829-1040.
And you're going to be on hold for 3 hours.
That is true.
The IRS don't play no games. They keep you on hold forever. Lord, you just might as well call April 16th, 18th. Call on April 18th because they ain't answering the phones right now. That's going
to be worse because everyone's calling that date.
So when's the best time to call them? Because it really is a 3-hour hold time.
I know. You just going to have to wait. Unfortunately.
So I know typically in our community, like, I wanted to ask you a question as far, because you said if your husband or your spouse did other activities, what if I'm a stripper? Can I file my taxes if I'm a stripper?
So if stripping is considered legal, or because people usually ask that question of whether like prostitution or whatever.
Oh, that's legal. My next question, because I be on Blue Hill Ave sometimes.
So basically, if it's legal, however you're getting the money, if you're getting like a 1099 miscellaneous, or again, income, whatever you're receiving, if it's income, it's taxable. On
my
your federal
sugar daddy
return,
be giving me money.
That's like gift. But that's a gift. That's not like money you're employed or earned for.
I earn that money.
But basically, there's a section, I believe it's like 921 on a federal tax return, that's called other income. So any money that's either, even if it's fraudulent or money that you've worked for that doesn't fit all the other categories of like self-employment income or anything like that, it would go on that line. You would need to report it. With fraudulent income, you shouldn't be claiming expenses because it's fraudulent, but you have to claim the income. I mean, generally, that's how a lot of people, even if they're undocumented, they file their tax return, they get an ITIN, and the ITIN is Identification Tax ID number. It's only specifically for tax purposes, and they file their income. They may put it under other income, or if they have like this tax ID number and they get whatever wages, but they file their tax return and submit it.
So as a stripper, I can't say that I spent a lot of money on thongs and boots and body glitter and baby oil, so I can't claim that?
Again, if it's illegal...
Well, stripping ain't illegal. I could strip in Massachusetts.
And so as long as it's a legal profession, then whatever you're spending money on, then yes, you can claim the expenses.
So what about...
If it's technically, if you're employed from somebody, then it's not your business. So, but if it goes on other income, you can claim all the expenses up to your amount of earnings. Mm-hmm. So on a business side, you can actually have a loss. On the other side, you can't. So if you're like a statutory employee or something like that,
or a contractor,
yeah, you can claim the income, the expenses up to the amount of earnings you make.
But I do Lyft and I do Uber, and you know. I have to get oil changes. I have to get like suspensions and stuff like that. I have to pay for gas and car washes. But you said that I can't claim a loss, but I did kind of lose money because I spent all this money trying to make sure my car looked pretty. I'd be feeding them snacks, giving them water.
Well, with that, basically you're considered a statutory employee. You're under Uber, the company, but generally you can claim all the expenses that you're taking. You can claim, I would say, especially with that, just because it's a high probability of audits, because of like cars are considered what's called listed property because it's used generally for personal and business use. Mm-hmm. So I would always tell people to make sure that they have good paperwork and their expenses in order for that. But yeah, you can claim anything
we didn't even get to like property. Like I own a house and I have rental property. We didn't even get to that. So I have thousands of questions. Okay. How can I get to you? When can I ask you these questions?
Actually, so on Thursday, March 9th, I will be at the Urban League from 6 to 8 p.m. During our March General Body meeting, answering tax questions. It is tax month and Women's History Month, but basically for that day, we are going to have a little... I don't say tax seminar, but just a meeting regarding tax. So if you are interested, feel free to come out. The address is at 88 Warren Street. The topic is Money Matters Month. So any other tax questions you have, you can feel free to come out, and they will be answered there.
All right, so if you didn't get that the first time, it is tax season. And of course, the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, the Young Professionals Network, they are doing amazing things, and this is exactly why they keep winning awards year after year after year, because they are giving us what we need, and this is free, right? This is free for everybody. If you need anything regarding your taxes, any questions, we're not doing taxes on site. We're just answering questions that you may have, and this is, your taxes are going to, all your questions will be answered. She answered every single question that we had today. There was a whole lot of generals because there are ins and outs and laws and regulations and statutes that, you know, everybody's tax is different. So generally, this is the answer. But if you need a very specific answer, make sure you come out next Thursday, March 9th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, 88 Warren Street. Light refreshments will be served. Come eat lunch or dinner, whatever they finna feed us. Because it's tax season. Money Matters March. I want to give a shout out to you, a female doing her thing in Women's History Month. I want to give a shout out to the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts. Don't forget, we are partnering up. Wake Up with TaylaAndre and the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts is partnering up for a dope conversation on not just taxes this Thursday, but we are also discussing what it means to be a homeowner. We're discussing, hold on now, your credit. We're discussing everything you need to know, everything you want to know regarding building. I know, thank you. Building generational wealth. I'm over here reading messages that people were sending. The Black Boston Economic Summit, it's 2 days for free. If you're a beginner, you need to, understand a little bit about, creating financial wealth, creating home security, using your Section 8 as a stepping stone to home ownership. Come out on March 11th. If you're already a homeowner and you're looking to purchase more properties in the future, you just want to understand, how do I do this? You just want to understand, creating a home line of equity. Come out on the 18th, the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts. I claim that this year they're going to win another 3 awards because they are doing amazing events back to back to back. Don't forget that the BPS is hosting March 9th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with Dr. Joy DeGrew. I cannot wait for next March 9th at the Timothy School from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Dr. Joy DeGrew. Don't forget, after the March 18th event, we will be having the Brains, Beauty, and Hustle, a conversation hosted by your very own TaylaAndre. Shout out to Code Electric for presenting this event at the Bruce Boiling Building, March 18th from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. Hot Sauce will be in the building. Dutch Rebel will be in the building. I will be in the building. And, of course, Miss Liz also will be in the building. If you need to get your taxes done, you haven't got your taxes prepared already, make sure you had the quickest link to your refund directly across the street from the old Packies. Advanced loans, quality service, fast refund, whether it's self-employment, whether it's a 1040 easy or whatever else it is that you need done. And they are trilingual. They speak Spanish, French, Hamaric, Selassie in the building all day, every day. If you want to go ahead and just email them your information, then they will make sure that your taxes are prepared throughout the day. You come at the end of the day, give your signature, and they'll send it off so you don't have to sit in the office and wait. And the email is quicklink200 because they're located at 200 Blue Hill Avenue, quicklink200@gmail.com. Or you can call Julie and Jaime at 617-652-8674. And as far as the Money Matters March is concerned, if you have some tax questions and you want to come out and get your tax questions answered on next Thursday, the time is
6 to 8 p.m.
6 to 8 p.m. And I want to give a huge shout out to the Urban League because the first 25 people to register that will be entering into a drawing for some Celtics tickets, the Celtics versus the Wizards. So I'll go ahead and post that link on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Go ahead and register. It's for free. We just need to know how many people are coming for food purposes, so you can get your belly fed. But the first 25 people to register will be placed in a drawing for the Celtics versus the Wizard tickets. When is that game? March 20th. Ooh, I'm free March 20th. Who want to go? Oh, I can't win? Damn it. Can you take me? Can you win the tickets and then take me with you? I want to go to the game. I want to give a huge shout out to Firearm Friday 617-293-1011. Make sure you go out there and get your LTC license. Shout out to where I'm about to go for breakfast, Two Sisters. I'm about to go get me some fish and grits. No, I'm about to get some salmon cakes and grits with some crack, because Auntie got some crack for you. It tastes absolutely amazing. And also, today is my day to go see Face Naturals for a Pum Pum Steam. Come meet me out there today. You can't come in the back room while I have a Pum Pum Steam, but you can definitely order and get your own. She is located at 66A South Street. Face Naturals, Face with an S, Naturals with an S, beauty.com. Big City 101.3 FM. I am TaylaAndre. You are tuned in to the Wake Up with TaylaAndre show. I love you, I appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing day. Was that difficult?
I was so nervous.
No, you weren't. You answered all the questions beautifully. Remind them where the event is today, on Thursday.
Hey everyone, the Money Matters March event will be at 88 Warren Street in Roxbury. See you there.
So, Enlighten Jackson wants to know about losses on business. How does that work? How many losses can you have? How many years can you have a loss?
So, you can have a loss as long as he wants to have a loss. But
so,
if you have a business, you don't want to have a loss. But it's basically, that's where that whole Trump thing comes in. You basically could carry it forward for 20 years or back 3.
Carry it forward for 20 or back for 3?
So, basically, if you have a loss, there's no limit. There's no cap on a loss for business, but basically when you have a loss, you can claim it. So basically, you can offset it to your tax. So if let's say your tax is $1,000 and your loss is $10,000, you can claim $1,000 of the loss and carry over $9,000. You can carry over $9,000 for 20 years, or amend your tax returns for 3 years prior to offset some of that loss and get the refund.
So what if I'm just not making any money? How do I be like Trump, claim bankrupt but still get paid?
I don't know about still get paid, but the thing is, so with him, he basically, again, the same loss that we're talking about is a net operating loss. So you have a business. Yeah, he filed bankruptcy, which caused him to have so many losses anyway. But he had to have been making some type of income in order to have a tax. So, or something. Some generated somewhere, like some real estate, something. But he basically, the loss is offset from the tax. But again, because it can carry forward for 20 years, he's been carrying forward the loss for, 18 supposedly? So as long as he has a loss for the next 2 years, you can still carry the loss. Or if it's a new loss, let's say if he had a new loss in 2016,
so can he essentially, when he puts us in major debt, carry the loss of the U.S. for the next 20 years?
I mean, he's not claiming the U.S. debt on the tax return. I mean, he's claiming his debt. Right now he's being smart because he's making money everywhere he stays. With he's staying in his Trump hotel and we're paying for it. So
that's ridiculous.
He's making money.
Hopefully that answered all of your questions. If you still have more, make sure you come out on March 8th, Thursday, March 8th at the Urban League. It's free. All you gotta do is show up. Get your questions answered by a tax. She didn't even say specialist. She said, what did she say? Expert. A tax expert. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. This phone finna die. YouTube, thank you for your time. If you guys have any questions and you're not in the state of Massachusetts, Jim, damn it, I just woke up and missed most of the show. It's okay. The show was about taxes, baby. We talked about taxes and I asked every question under the sun, whether strippers can claim taxes, whether pimps can claim taxes, all the questions.